First, big decision, you guys, from Microsoft shareholders rejecting a plan to invest up to 5% of their profits into Bitcoin. The proposal said that it would hedge against inflation and mark a bold step into crypto, but the vote reveals still skepticism toward the digital currency revolution. Here to weigh in on all of this, Anthony Pompliano, professional capital management founder and CEO. How much of a setback, if any, is this for Bitcoin?
This doesn't matter at all. If you think about the odds that this was ever going to get approved, it was near zero.
And why?
Well, sometimes the Bitcoin community, we like to yell and scream about things because it's fun. It sounds good. Like, imagine if Microsoft does this.
Yeah.
But the odds that a $1 trillion+ company is going to actually go and do this, they don't need to do it because they've got a great business. And so if you look at most of the companies who have been adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, they're actually companies that weren't working, right? This was kind of like a Hail Mary for them, and it is working for them. And so if you look at kind of the comparison, what you actually have is the innovator's dilemma. If you've got a great business, why rock the boat? Microsoft's got a good thing going, right? They're big in AI, their stock prices going up, et cetera. It's the companies that are saying, hey, I need to pull a lever here to try to get something done. Those are the ones who
we talked about Rumble the other day.
I was going to say MicroStrategy in response to your comment.
MicroStrategy is the obvious one, but I think you've got some of these guys. I can't believe I'm defending Bitcoin to the Bitcoin guy here.
It's all you.
But I'm saying they're saying we don't need to do it. But if this is as much the future as people are saying, we better get on that train. 5% of your profits, not a huge investment to dabble in that space. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't a company like Microsoft be doing this?
Yeah, well, I definitely think they should do it. And I think that at some point they will do it. It's just that who are the first ones to adopt stuff? It's the same thing with nation states putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. You see the El Salvadors, the Bhutans, right? It's these small countries who don't really have a lot to risk. And there's such asymmetric upside. Now, what I will say is that is starting to change. So there are companies like Hut 8 and others that are in the Bitcoin world that have good businesses that are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet as well. And so those are kind of Bitcoin related companies. Now what we need to see are good companies that have good cash flow that are not related to Bitcoin to start to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And I think that'll be the big, kind of explosion of public companies.
I wonder if Amazon could be that next, because reading reports that they might consider making the move, right? And that would be pretty big. So going back to your point, Brian, makes me wonder why maybe Microsoft is missing out, might be late to the game.
Well, there is a Bitcoiner who is behind all of these Amazon shareholder, Microsoft shareholder proposals. He's very good at doing it. He's obviously getting on the schedule. The question is just going to become, at what point do one of these companies say, fine, you guys are right, let's go ahead and do
let me stay on this, because if you're playing in the crypto space nowadays, apparently you might be at a higher likelihood of getting debanked. That's what Mark Andreessen is saying. How do you is that as big of a deal as we're hearing? It seems like in Silicon Valley that's happening a lot.
There's two stories here, right? One is the actual debanking, taking somebody's bank account away from them. And this is not just a U.S. problem. We saw in Canada they did this to the truckers, but in the United States they're doing it to tech founders, people involved in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, etc. I actually think the bigger problem is we should stop debanking people. But the second thing is that I cannot tell you, just our team alone, how many hours have been wasted with various banks fighting to not get debanked. So even though we actually didn't, our team has spent enormous amount of time and effort, emails, calls, meetings, etc., fighting to not get our bank accounts taken away or having them.
What's the why behind why they are?
Well, look, if you're a bank, you're very risk averse, right? And so if you think that somebody or a business is involved in any shape or form with crypto, then you are less likely to bank them. And so whether they are trying to take away bank accounts or, again, not open a bank account, it's a massive problem. And so imagine how much time, energy, and productivity of American businesses has been wasted on this problem over the last 5 or 6 years. Now that it's coming to light, hopefully regulation will change, banks will get more comfortable with this, and then we can get people back to work and actually producing for the American economy.
And to that point, we do see shifting, I would say maybe attitudes around cryptocurrency, but there is still a lot of hesitation and skepticism. We saw that in Washington, but maybe the tides are changing. But there's still, former SEC commissioners that are speaking to these very concerns that I think you are highlighting here. Listen to this soundbite and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
Crypto is a scourge. It's not something that you want in your society. It has no utility. It's just pure speculation. Remember, there's no balance sheet to crypto. There's no financial statements.
The whole concern there is that there's just no transparency. And to go even further, there are concerns that some say crypto is really just a vehicle for criminal acts, the black market. What do you say to that?
Stop it. This guy keeps saying this stuff over and over again. The dollar doesn't have a balance sheet. The dollar doesn't have a financial statement. The Bitcoin blockchain is a transparent ledger. I can know more about what happens on the Bitcoin network than with dollars. The dollar is used much more for criminal activity, money laundering, terrorist financing, etc. If criminals want to conduct crimes, they do not want to have their fingers on a keyboard because it's easier for the police to come and find them. And so these people keep saying this stuff. They sound ridiculous because they don't understand how the technology actually works. If you go talk to law enforcement, would they rather have a criminal with a bag of cash or with Bitcoin? They'll take Bitcoin all day long. Criminals are learning to not use Bitcoin for crimes because they get caught.
Yeah, because the blockchain technology, probably the transparency. Quickly, we're joking about NASDAQ 20,000. CPI this morning fuels all the optimism that somehow we think that even though inflation is going sideways instead of down, that the Federal Reserve is still cutting next week. What do you make?
Look, the Federal Reserve has no choice. They broke the financial markets in the global financial crisis. The younger generation realizes buy stocks. They have to cut rates and they have to print money. They're going to keep doing that. Risk has been removed from the market. There can be short-term downturns in stock prices, but over the long run, if you buy stocks and you hold them, they're going to have to push asset prices higher. Bitcoin's a big winner from that. Stocks will be a big winner from that. And the Federal Reserve just has no choice. And so all the bears who are yelling and screaming about recessions and bear markets and all this stuff, the Federal Reserve has outlawed all of that.
Before we lose you today, I want to ask you a little bit about the big story, the United Healthcare CEO murder suspect. There's a lot of talk about what this guy represents. Is he fighting the system? Is he some hero to people on the left? How do you understand his actions? You've got a really interesting take. And I think because you're so tuned into that generation, you can help us understand like how they think and how they ought to be thinking about this.
Yeah, look, obviously America is made up of 300 plus million people, and so there's going to be all kinds of different opinions about that. My personal view is that if you murder someone, you're not a hero, right? You are a criminal, and you should be punished for doing that. But what I think is a story that nobody is talking about is if you actually have a problem with the insurance companies, right? You think that's his motive. The better thing to do is rather than ruin the life and take the life of the CEO and then ruin your own life, instead go compete in the marketplace. If you think that the insurance companies are bad companies, if they are gouging people, if they are not allowing care, then go build a better insurance company. And capitalism is what America was built on. There's a free market of competition that is allowed. And so the better thing to do, if you really want to help people, shooting the CEO of the insurance company does not help anybody. It's not. Nothing is going to change. But if you build the best insurance company that is able to go and actually provide that service to individual patients, you will have a much, much bigger impact.
Well, and let's not forget, I mean, there are problems in that space. Like if you want to build the better insurance company, you're facing so much regulation from the government right now. It's hard to do that. But that larger point I love, which is be a creator. Right? Capitalism allows you to be a creative disruptor, not a violent disruptor. And we seem to have lost that distinction among our younger generations right now. We've got to recover that faster and faster.
You could argue that he, of anyone, had the opportunity to do that. He had the money and he had the education, and he chose this route. Anthony Pompliano, always need more time with you. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good to see you.